SWBTV has a range of products, of which the first product is very simply a clip-on spoon for pouch baby food, allowing mums to single-handedly feed their babies when they're out and about or at home.
Crowdcube is an online platform that allows people to raise money for their businesses from absolutely anybody. We've been going for just about 2 years now, and during that time we've raised 3.7 million for 21 different companies.
We have a new technology that will look at many biomarkers in your blood at once, many things at the same time. So it's not just a simple measure of what's good and what's not, but maybe a whole profile of your health.
Modmai Pi Limited was founded by me in the start of March 2012. We designed and manufacture cases for the Raspberry Pi. Basically, the computer, it's the size of a credit card, just comes as like a bare, uncased circuit board. So our idea, or what we wanted to do, was make cases for it.
It's all come about from an idea which I had about 10 years ago when I saw a mum struggling on a flight trying to feed her baby. And as a product designer, I saw this as an opportunity, like a gap in the market, which I thought, let's have a look at this and see how far it goes. The pouch, just snaps in, and then it's a case of then just squeezing gently.
And I've had lots of other ideas for businesses, which for various reasons I never actually got them off the ground. But the big reason I never did get them off the ground was I didn't have money to fund them. And I saw lots of other people who had ideas for businesses in the same situation and also struggled to find finance. And I thought there must be another way of doing this. There must be a way to raise money in a different way.
We've been developing work in the biotechnology sector, specifically looking at diagnosis of disease from blood chemistry. So far we have done some preliminary developmental work to look at how the technology will look like as a product and what's going to be required to take that product to market.
The Raspberry Pi came out, we realised that it was a very popular product. As I said, it just comes as like a bare circuit board, so we thought, why don't we make a case for it? I have 3D design skills. There's a lot of support available here at the university, and there's a Centre for Additive Layer Manufacturing, which is based on next to the university campus.
The one thing you've got to remember is that at every stage of the process, when you have an idea, you've got to add value. And the value either comes in from the marketplace, from friends, from family or whatever. And I think it's that element which actually drives you forward to get you to the end game, which is actually either raising money or putting the product into the marketplace.
I did a huge amount of research and analysis, a lot of thinking initially. A lot of sharing the idea with other people and getting feedback. And then once I knew that it was viable, I started to do some proper research. So it was about 2 years actually in the formation, whilst I was working full-time in my previous job, of actually pulling together the idea a bit further.
Just browsing the forums, the Raspberry Pi community, people were like, is anyone going to make a case for it? And there were a few case ideas, this kind of stuff. So it was 50% people saying, we want a case for it, and 50% of me saying, here's a case.
If the customer has a need for your technology and pours the technology into the marketplace because it fills a need for them, they see an immediate reward, they can quantify the value of your technology, and so the customer pull is key. For me, when I started as a professor, I knew nothing about business, and I knew that was not going to be a strength for me. So I put together a management team, and I learned from a colleague in Silicon Valley who is a chief executive of a company in Silicon Valley that the most important factors for running a business are the management team, identifying your market, making sure your product works or your technology works, and that you have enough money to bring it to market.
The amount of work that was done behind the scenes in terms of actually justifying the product is huge. Not only from the design point of view in terms of having the idea and protecting it, whether that's design registration or a patent like we've got it at the moment, but you really have to justify where the need is. You have to look at the stats in terms of how big the market is, where the market's shifting, look at the futuristic, sort of more visionary reports in terms of where it's heading, and especially for something like the clip-on spoon for baby food, and we were looking at a sector which hadn't even appeared yet. It was only that sort of vision that I had that was basically, they say eureka, but it's just basically why not do this? Question everything. That was the opportunity. And then you have to justify it. So a lot of time was spent in the British Library just going through Mintel reports, Euromonitor reports, to basically almost answer your own questions. Can we do this?
The key thing for me was to really find some experts in the area who were kind of acting like a mentor in some degree, and had some further understanding of the sector than I did, because my background is not in financial services at all. So there needs to be some people in around startups who can help them with those things at a reasonable cost. I mean, there's plenty of people that will do it and charge you a few £1,000s, but the dilemma is that startups don't have money to pay people to do that. So either the government perhaps needs to provide that service, or there needs to be a number of people who will do that on some kind of a contingent basis and say, okay, well, I'll help you do that, but I'll pay me when you can, or give me some shares in your company, and that will help these businesses take that step from the idea to having the business plan and getting the funding.
So undoubtedly the most important is your management team, and that team must evolve with the company. So the skill set that you need at the beginning is different from the skill set you need in the middle, and different maybe from the skill set to launch. You're going to need a good chief executive. They're going to have to drive the company in all aspects of the business, and they're going to be working very hard. They need to be paid properly and incentivized properly. And if they don't do that job, they need to be changed. The same chief executive may not go throughout the lifetime of the company, because later on you're going to need a sales force or a marketing force or the business interactions force. And I knew my tiny little niche was just the research bit, just the bit that I knew something about. I didn't really know much about development. I had the idea. So clearly I was going to need a development engineer and plan out the development process. So all those skill sets need to be brought together and managed at the board level, with the skill set evolving over time to match the business of the company.
We're probably so successful now because of the amount of support we've had from various sources, the manufacturers we're using, the university, the guys we use for prototyping. All of the support and the contacts that they managed to give me has led to the success of the business so far.
So you can raise your finance from a number of places, and that really depends on the risk appetite of the people providing the money. If it's an early stage piece of work, it's almost a research and development contract that may be funded by the research councils. There still comes a time when you might want to take the money from a bank, and that may be later on when the company's mature and you're just developing sales. And the risk will then be borne by the company's balance sheet. But the gap in the middle is the seriously tricky bit, where the venture capitalist might have to come in and take the risk, or an angel might come in and take the risk. Or indeed you're going to risk your house. You might have to use your house as a personal guarantee against some money from the bank.
It's taken a long while to get the sort of finances in terms of what we're after in place, the business plan, the synopsis, which is basically the runner, which is going to highlight the company to either VCs or wealthy individuals. But first what I did is tap into the local environment first in terms of what support we can get locally in terms of grants and loans.
So the finance was raised based on paid pre-orders for the cases. We put the renders, the 3D renders of the products on the website and said you can come and pre-order this now. It'll be available within the next couple of months. And we got a massive response from that. And it was the paid for pre-orders which meant that we had the finance to then pay for the injection molding, tooling and everything we needed to actually finance it.
And I think this is the one thing about SWBTV is that everybody's going to take a cut, everybody's going to take a dilution, and I think at the end of the day you want to have a success, and so your expectancy is that there will be dilution. So get used to it. What's the point of holding on to everything if it's not going to be there? So from where we sit, it's just now using the brand, using the players that we've got to then access the right routes to finance. There are some wealthy individuals down here which we can tap into straight away, and there are some wealthy people elsewhere that we can tap into. But it's just getting that matrix right.
A business plan and financial forecast, and they may sound like in some ways kind of antiquated documents that people need. But what they do is they demonstrate that you've thought through more than just the idea of what the product or the service might be, and you've thought through how you're going to sell it. Who you're going to have to bring on as your team, and when you're going to need to bring them on, how much money you need, what you're going to spend it on, and what your cash flow is. When you're going to need that money, and what are the incomings and outgoings of the business. And it's important for any business to have sort of thought these things through, and it's particularly important for an investor to understand that the person they're going to invest in has the ability and the capability to think these things through as well. One of the things we did early on, we realised that we had a good story and that PR would be a great way of getting ourselves known. So we got in bed with a PR company, and because we couldn't really afford to bring them on, we gave them some shares in our company, which meant that they had a financial interest, but at the same time they also had an interest in making the business a success.
Social media marketing is really good because it's free. So you do have, Facebook is free. People can come and they can ask you questions and you can answer them for free. You can put videos on YouTube of prototype products, of the product itself. People come, they look at the video, they think, that looks cool.
Your objective is to get that product into the marketplace and to make money quickly. Don't assume you can do all of that, and look for the quick route to market. Look for the easy win. Don't worry about doing it all yourself. Should you partner with somebody? Should you look at who the big players in the market are? And maybe it's easy not to have a market presence, but just sell it all through a major store or through an existing player in the market.
Perseverance and persistence and just keeping going and backing yourself and believing yourself. And if you've got that faith in yourself and your idea, don't give up on it, just keep going, because you'll get some awful headaches and obstacles in your way. And every time that you try something and you fail at it, you've learned how not to do it, so next time you're going to do it better. And there's quite often quoted this culture difference between us and the States, whereas if you've had a history of 5 failed startups in the States, they see that as a positive thing, and over here you probably won't get funding because of that.
It's not a part-time sport. If you treat it as a part-time sport, then give up. It's just not worth it. It is full-time, and if you treat it like a hobby, then it's never going to go forward. I think that's what I should have said, really. Just don't treat it as a hobby. Because a lot of people do. And it's just like, you're not going to get there. Unless you're committed, then you're not going to see it through.
You don't get to switch off. You're working 14, 16-hour days straight, 7 days a week. You don't really get the time to unwind.
And you need to be plucky, you need to stick at it, you need to have some certain amount of tenacity to take the ideas and to take the knockbacks and to go further forward.
This is the advantage with any small business, is the reaction time to look at new opportunities, because compared to a global giant, they move very slowly. Small brands like ourselves can look at new opportunities and say, yes, let's do it.